Title 17 U.S. Code 512F provides penalties for the deliberate misrepresentation of copyright infringement. The owners and authors of this video, the common denominator, and the Paramystic Broadcast Channel are a nonprofit 501c3 exempt organization and believes in good faith that it constitutes educational fair use, as per Title 17 U.S.C. 107. Persons, agencies, attorneys, and or social media algorithms filing a false or frivolous Digital Millennium Copyright Act complaint may be subject to civil liability. Warning: the following content may contain elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Accordingly, viewer discretion is advised.
Happy Hump Day, everyone. As always, I pledge of allegiance to the Constitution of the United States of America and to the republic for which the flag stands, one nation under Almighty God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't believe I had a quote about 2 weeks ago when I had a show. Last week, I wasn't feeling well. My throat was out of whack. I will tell you, smoking is not good. I don't like being a smoker. Well, maybe of God's green earth, but seriously speaking, I couldn't. I lost my voice, so I am working on that now. As always, or I try to, as always, try to give you a quote that is interesting. This is from a gentleman. This particular quote: "The first point of wisdom is to discern what is false. The second, to know what is true." The first point of wisdom is to discern what is false. And the second, to know what is true. This is by Lycantrius. He was way back when, and way back when being, of course, 250 to 325 AD. He was, I believe. And he was an early Christian author who became an advisor to the Roman Empire, Emperor Constantine first, guiding his Christian religious policy into its initial stages of emergence, and a tutor of his son Crispus. He has a lot of important work that has been done in basically the divine spiritual guidance of God, and he pushed that. I mean, he really did, because he knew that was a big form of what we needed to do. We needed to change. I've been having to go through a lot of personal changes, by the way. I went on a kick today. My girlfriend and I were talking, and she gave me a very good distinction between, or a definition of discernment. And discernment is not knowing the difference between right and wrong. It's knowing the difference between right and almost right. That would be Charles Spurgeon. Again, discernment is not knowing the difference between right and wrong. It's knowing the difference between right and almost right. So we have to look for the better side, I think, of people in general. But it's very, very, very difficult, because something I've learned is a turd is a turd. You can spray paint it gold, but it's still going to be a turd. You can lay it in gold, but it's still going to be a turd. And I think I call that the truth hurts. It really does. Right now, we've got a big, important election. Oh, thank you, by the way, for making me want to write this down. I should have had a Dan Landy name on there as well. But I'm going to keep this up here for a while. We've got an election coming up, and open to public knowledge, believe it or not. When you're going into a community's election, you can actually have access to, for instance, in this case here, the Missouri Ethics Commission, contributions and loans received documentation. I'm going to go through these real quick and very lightly, because I just want to touch on them a little bit. But for Jackie Peck, who's running for school board and wanting to be re-elected into a position of which, for I believe 8 years, she's not been a change for the school board whatsoever. She actually was provided funds, believe it or not, donations, and they're allowed to have that, by the way. But she actually had a contribution from Lowenstein and Associates. That would be the Rose Lowenstein, I believe. It may be a Rose Lowenstein Foundation. It may be his law firm. $600. It's very generous, by the way. Billy Lowenstein, William Lowenstein, very generous. And also, you actually offered another $300, again with the Lowenstein and Associates. That's wonderful. Personally, myself, I know what that gentleman stands for. He doxed me. Fact. On the internet. That's against the law. I'm working on how to pursue the matter. In the meantime, though, it's what he actually represents or where that money comes from. I myself could care less about your ideologies. But if you're going to cram something down a child's throat like pornography, I'm not down into it. Like LGBTQ, XYZ, ABC, all that stuff, I'm not down into it. And yet, with all the good things he does, I'm sure, in helping children with cancer or whatever the deal that the foundation does, I think that's wonderful. But for Peck to receive these contributions from such a person, and she considers herself a Christian conservative, I'm quite confident, it astounds me. Because it's like George Soros buying all of these prosecuting attorneys around our country. Think carefully about what I'm saying, mayors as well. And we go down to the next contribution, and this is part of what's supposed to be happening, by the way. You've got to fill out a itemized expenditures for over $100 supplemental form, and you know where your money's being spent, and that's only proper to do. Now, when it came to Ryan Murphy has been to one school board meeting that I'm aware of in 1 year and 6+ months. I know this. In fact, it's going on almost 2 years, just shy of. And you know, he received $100, believe it or not, from the Billy Lowenstein. From Billy Lowenstein as well. Again, I'm not begrudging these people for having received money, not at all. But it's where the money's coming from. I wish I could have figured out a way of having a certain piece to offer to show you. I still may yet. It was about a woman walking by and sees a man asking 50 cents for eggs, and each egg $3. She said, "I'll give you $2.50. No, nothing to scrub." Well, she walked away. Yeah, he said, "Anything will help. I need to eat." And she walked away thinking, "Well, I got a great bargain, you know." And then she went out to lunch and she left half her food, and then the bill came out to be $150. And believe it or not, she left a $50 tip and all that food. Some people can do that, and conscionably, because she wants those friends around her to see what a wonderful person she is. And that's not a good way to be. So I got to thinking the past several days, actually past couple of weeks, about me and how I'm changing myself, or trying to. We must learn who is gold and who is simply gold plated. Gold plated is something. Oh, father, Ryan Murphy. He's a father, family man. He does good things in the community, sports events, and so on and so forth. I have nothing to say that's negative or bad, except to say I've never met him and I've never seen him at a school board meeting. What does he bring to the table? In fact, Peck was asked, and he was asked, to bring something to the table and having discussion in the community. So were the other candidates, Chris Parkey and Ryan Lorette. And none of them wanted to have that conversation with Heath or with Dan Landy. And that's very, very, very sad, because here you have, and I know Dan Landy personally, everyone is saying he wants to be rid of sports. No, he does not. He wants a GPA, a grade point average, to increase. That's all he's asking. Because it's an extracurricular activity. You've got a curriculum that you're following and learning. This is an extracurricular. You should have a certain GPA in order to play in sports. Is that wrong? I believe they would call that prioritizing. With Heath Gilbert, I can't say anything more. He knows policy book better than the superintendent. That I can almost guarantee and assure you. That is my personal opinion. That man sees, knows, has facts of what is going on that's wrong with our school district in Cameron. And the people view him as, not everyone, mind you, but a vast amount of people. There are a lot of people that are, and it's sad because it's all the ugly people that come on the internet to say this, that, and the other thing and just throw all kinds of accusations out there. Where are the good people that are maybe paying attention? That should be able to say, hey, yeah, I want to have that candidate in my office. You know, the other day, last week, we had a couple little vandals. I think they were cute, mischievous little boys that took several signs, placed them in a backyard. It's mischievous. We know that. I get it. I've done the same thing when I was a kid. But actually, it's a felony to touch anyone's signs. I don't know if anyone knows this, but I don't know. Now, hang on. It may not be a felony, but I believe it's a misdemeanor. And I'm quite confident it's up to a $2,500 fine to touch, play with, alter, what have you, election signs. Yeah, I think the kids should have a little bit of a scared straight moment. By the way, catch that series on YouTube. You'd love that movie. Old 70s movie, maybe early 80s. But the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is we have to look at our candidates that's going to be elected. And I'm making a big plea here. Oh, yeah, a couple of you have your own opinion of who I am. Wrong. I'm a good guy. At least I try to be. I may not have 1,000 friends in Cameron, but the 3 I do have, they're really tight and good people. Just kidding. Seriously, the people I do know are wonderful people. And they want to do the right things for the community. And there's nothing wrong with that. You've got candidates that went out last night. I believe they were down at a gathering at a historical school building, which I absolutely love the story behind that building. Of all the city council candidates and of all the school board candidates to intermingle. And sadly enough, it just was seemingly lopsided, is all I can say. It just didn't seem fair. I listened to a story or two, and I'm thinking to myself, how is it that they want to put people aside or poo-poo or shoo? That's not right. You've got to look at the candidates for what their qualities are, what their qualifications are, where their hearts are at, where their minds are at. Right now, there are 2 candidates, 2, Dan Landy and Heath Gilbert. And I'm going to tell you flat out, you couldn't find 2 better people that want to make a change that's better for the school board than those 2 people. They can work together, and I think that they can help people see that they are almost right, but they can become right. I'm actually making a piece here right now trying to do this. I'm not very good at this stuff. So, there you go. But we have to be involved in what's going on. We have to. You know, there we go. And if we don't get involved, we're going to lose big. And that's just this one tiny little community. I was so saddened also to hear that, believe it or not, no news media showed up. Shout out, by the way, to Jamie Honeycutt. He's out of Trenton, Plattsburgh area. He's got several publications. He's now filling the seats, I believe, or jumping into the saddle for the moment. with and for the citizens here in Cameron, since we've had the departure, I believe, of Jimmy Potts, editor. He's now in St. Joe. Gonna miss him. I'm gonna miss him so much. Not. Although the antics were every now and then pretty cool. But no, we didn't have anyone covering that situation or that scenario yesterday. Not Chris Ward of the radio station in Cameron, W. In fact, I won't even listen to it, so I'm not even going to give you I think an AM station or something. I don't know. And they've got the morning show, the Good Morning Show, or a morning show or some kind of thing. Again, I won't listen to it. They turned us down a year ago, I'm sorry. And that wasn't right. That wasn't right for the citizens of Cameron. You didn't have even anyone from the Citizens Observer show up. To my knowledge, no one had shown up. We've got some good people here. We do. And we've got to see the better qualities in those people, if there are, in fact, any. And no one can be unsalvageable, I might say. No one is unsalvageable. But in this case here, when you're picking your candidates and who you're going to vote for, this is your birthright the moment you were born. The Constitution in America gave you that birthright. It's to vote. As we get older, we get a little bit more mature, and we start having a different mindset of thinking. And you know, it's more of a common sense rather than let's take some risks and have fun doing it. You know, see what happens. You know, the consequences of tomfoolery, I guess. So when you're looking at people, and I'm just going to say it like this, when you're looking at people, you want wisdom. I believe those two gentlemen have wisdom. I believe they're both capable of doing what needs to be done for Cameron. Put aside silly notions like Heath Gilbert wanting to ban books. No, he just wants them to be handled differently in the distribution of those books, because a lot of those books are profane. In fact, some of those books are so profane when you read them. John Kennedy last week, I believe it was, don't quote me on that, I believe it's Senator Kennedy out of Louisiana, read these words to this individual with the educational educational something institute or whatever the devil that guy was from. But anyway, a typical Senate hearing type thing. And the guy was like, "Oh my goodness, I forgive you for using those words." And then, of course, Senator Kennedy said, "But those are in those books for the kids to read." And I can't do it. You got to be kidding me. Seriously, folks. That man says those words were offensive, but he forgives them. And of course, Senator Kennedy graciously, this exchange goes on, I have to say, kind of respectful. But if those words were offensive to him, don't you think they'd be offensive to kids? That's all that's worth saying. It's very simple mathematics. Dan Landy and Heath want a better grade point average for the students that are coming out of that school. And the only way to have that is to sharpen and hone and guide and get some debate going on what's good for or not good for the students. In my experience, when I was in Girard College, we had to have a GPA of at least, I believe it was a B average or a B minus. Couldn't be C average. That's what it was. It was C plus or B minus. That range. That's it. And you couldn't have any infractions, no demerits, no chits written up against you. We were more involved as kids also. But seriously, we had to have a good curriculum of education and then go for the extracurricular activities. If nothing else, Cameron, whether you hate me or love me, and I mean this, do what's right for the children. Do what's right for your children. They don't need to be looking at the wrong, I don't want to say it's wrong. They don't need to be looking at certain things in such detail. Florida just passed a bill. They're really, limiting usage of phone usage to certain things for children. And they're going to implement this. Since the parents don't want to parent, now government's got to get involved. And I have to tell you, by the way, that does suck. I'm not crazy about it. Does it make a point? I think it's going to make a very valuable point in the long run. I think parents are going to realize that dropping our kids off at school at 8 o'clock, picking them up at 4 o'clock, and I'm just using those hours with the hectic work schedules, so on and so forth. And they've had but really they're glorified, basically babysitters, I guess, at this point, I would say. I saw a movie not long ago called Kindergarten Cop. and Arnold Schwarzenegger, shut up, shut up. The kids are just going crazy playing. But there's a time to play and a time to work and time to rest. I have seen, and I mean, I've read the Bible and I've seen a lot of things in my lifetime in regards to the Bible, plays and movies and so on and so forth. And I still go back and say my 3 favorite books are Proverbs for wisdom, Psalms for prayer, and Ecclesiastes letting us know how valuable time is. So this is discernment. You've got to either not really worry about the right from wrong. You got to go for what is the right from almost right. Every single candidate, I'm sure, not a doubt in my mind, and this is getting ugly, by the way. It's gotten pretty ugly. I've seen some of the videos, by the way, Jackie Peck, great ones. You're a winner. I know that they have the best intentions, but you've got to look at the qualifications. These 2 men have been there for almost 20 months, 18, 20 months straight. Both of them. They are involved. They are concerned. They are doing this for the children. Know that your vote coming up April 2nd, know that your vote is for the children first and foremost. Never thought I'd ever hear myself saying this. Almost makes me want to sing. They're the future. We are the world. They're the future. But they are the future. And if we don't correct the course of which we're going, in the direction of which we're floating, we're going to be much like that ship out in Baltimore. So now let's get down to some little fun things that's going on right now. You've got a ship's captain. Don't get me wrong. I don't know how this happened. They talked about it last night, by the way, on Truck It. But they've got a ship's captain, believe it or not, who the ship lost power, was coming out of port, was supposed to go underneath the bridge in Baltimore. Everyone, of course, has now since seen the situation. Some people said, hey, why didn't you drop anchor? And people did say they did drop anchor. They didn't. And even if they did, it would have taken way too much. It could never have stopped any catastrophe of course, from happening. Of course, 3 minutes doing this with the May Day was, I think, unacceptable as well. They should have been able to stop the flow of traffic, realizing that there was, quite a situation going. That's my personal opinion. But Biden wants to have the federal government pay for the bridge to be rebuilt. I'm sorry, Biden, but people have to be held accountable. Something went awry. Something went wrong. And what went awry and what went wrong, it's under investigation, but they got to figure it out. And they will. It's a sad situation also. 30,000 daily commuters. That's a lot of cars going over that bridge. 30,000 is a lot. And that's not even mentioning the commerce. So it's going to really bottleneck a lot. But maritime law, ships, so on and so forth, they all have insurance. So something tells me technically that their insurance should cover that situation. Are we going to end up paying it through tax dollars? Oh, maybe we can get cheaper labor. I wonder where that labor would come from and at what future cost in the long run. We are living in some very, very bad times. I mean, the metal, they can save the better part of it. Lots of it they can salvage it, no doubt. I don't even know if there's a tunnel under it or nearby that could have been, of course, damaged or had some kind of damage from everything that fell. We don't have a clue. I want to say that this is kind of what's practical and what's impractical. It's impractical for Joe Biden to just say, hey, the federal government's going to foot the bill. They never even put out FEMA. And by the way, there have been, to my knowledge, 6 people that are missing and feared dead. So prayers out to those families for sure. When will we be held accountable and responsible for our actions that are destructive in nature, not only to a ship, but to fellow human beings? P. Diddy, I don't know much about Sean P. Diddy Combs, but I guess he's a rapper, and he kind of has a colorful, shady past, I guess you'd say. I don't know. I don't follow those people. I don't care to. Don't like his music, so why would I? But what was really amazing was apparently he's been very successful. He had several homes, 3 around the country, or 2 around the country, all time coordinated into an FBI raid. I listened to a podcaster. He mentions this, that he was on SWAT, and when they go to do a raid like that accordingly, maybe in this case, like 2-3 different places, they've got a lot of evidence. They've got a lot of, hey, we've got you. You're not going anywhere. Well, I guess his airplane took off, and there's a good chance that he's left the country. And possibly, I thought I had heard he was in Antigua, and I'm not exactly sure where that's at. I couldn't even spell it. I wrote Antique, by the way. I do make mistakes occasionally, but seriously. And that's a country, if he did make it there safely, by the way, he can't be extradited. He can live there forever. Offshore accounts, I'm sure he has. I don't know whether the country can, whether the federal government could seize those assets. I have no clue. But it amazes me, it astounds me that they're charging him, I guess, with a Jeffrey Epstein type situation. It's just wrong. And they can't run and they can't hide. Now, there's a difference, by the way, between a felony arrest and a felonious arrest. Playing on words there. But seriously, a felony arrest, it can ruin your life for a moment. Or if you want, you can expose it. And you can bring it out to light what it is. It's wrong. Felonious arrests are wrong. I don't care how much you hate a person, how much you dislike a person. Donald Trump has been going through some stuff with some of the most vile, hateful, evil people we could ever imagine. And like a house of cards, it just keeps, as much as these Democratic-led progressive people have been pouncing on Trump, from Colorado going to the Supreme Court, forgetting the appellate court, Jack Smith, same deal. I mean, they have been just going over their boundaries, bypassing this, that, and the other thing. You've got Fani Willis, who perjured herself, and she's still going to be doing the case, the lead prosecuting attorney down in Georgia against President Trump. Letitia James, the Attorney General, New York, gloating, going to the election saying, when she was being elected, I'm going to get Donald Trump if it's the last damn thing I do. I'm going to put his head on a platter. And she's tried. Then you have that Judge Ornog. He should just be called Judge Ignoramus, giving such a fine when there are no victims, when Trump did zero wrong. Zero. We know this. There's been too many financial tycoons, and look at the tycoons that are, in fact, right now, flying, leaving, swimming, running, hiking, everything and anything they can do to get the hell out of that state. Way back when, in the 70s, I think it was, maybe 80s, Kurt Russell, I think it was, did a movie called Escape from New York. Staten Island, I believe, was basically one big prison. And it's going to be like that, I think, one day, perhaps. I don't know. But crime's going up. You've got MSNBC was touting, and NBC, I think it was touting Rhonda McDaniel. She used to be the lead of the Republican donors committees, I guess you'd say. She was a big cheese, a very big cheese. And yes, she's a firm supporter of Trump. And they wanted to hire her on. And here you've got a woman that probably does know a little bit of dirt on Trump. You never know. There may be something she could say, or, yeah, this isn't really quite the way it is. But because all the little sniffling crybabies of the other shows being presented on MSNBC, NBC, we can't work with her. She has a different opinion. They need to really look at what might be better for that network if they want to get their viewership back, because it's plummeted. It's hit. Rachel Maddow, Rachel Maddow. I call her Mad Cow Maddow. I mean, I don't like her. I don't like Joe Scarborough. Whoopi Goldberg, The View with Joey Behar, Sonny Huston. They're very bad, ugly people. They're the ones that are hurting America. And how some of these people follow them, I have absolutely no clue whatsoever. Zero. I don't get it. And there is a guy I wish I had his name. I'd love to have given you a plug in. I'll get back to you one of these days. There's a guy that actually, he does a a program where he dissects the view. And so he painstakingly really bites into it, and he does it quite well. I will look that up. I will get that back to you, because we do need a little laughter at the same time. We really, truly do. Laughter, Patch Adams said, was in fact the best cure, or one of the best. And it really is. We have to be able to laugh. We have to be able to cry. We have to have a pecking order, by the way, whether you like it or not. We have to have a pecking order. When you've got these people that are fouling up the election in Cameron, I can tell you, I know of a professional business owner who's been visiting business owners that have certain people's signs up, are going in showing pictures of Dan Landy in this case wearing a groomer's sign, so on and so forth. Those were taken only in Heath's t-shirts that are, some of them have a couple good sounding words, it's telling the truth, but those are words that are in the books. Those are things that's happening in that school. And whether you like it or not, whether you want to agree with it or not, the adults have got to get back into the school. So I'm going to be wrapping this up shortly. This is a tribute to my friends, Heath Gilbert, a write-in candidate for Cameron Schools, Dan Landy, Cameron Schools as well. You can't ask for two men that are family men, loving fathers, good Christians, who are willing to offer opinions to the problems, and in those opinions perhaps even offer solutions, which a lot of this can be fixed. But it's not going to get fixed if the change isn't made. Right now they're teaming, I believe again, Peck and Murphy, George Soros, Billy Lowenstein, that's who he is, Billy Soros Lowenstein. Yes. You're backing that horse. We don't need rubber stampers. We don't need a candidate that's a go along, get along. We don't need those two types of people on the school board. This is just my opinion. Again, good people, but not good for the job. Not good for the hard work, the determination, the dedication, the want to say, hey, let's correct what's going on, to challenge, to bring the people and the community to start thinking and realizing what is happening and what the important things, what the most priority things are. I love the area that I'm living across the board. I do. I love it here. All in all, beautiful country. Across the board, wonderful people. And believe me, I've met more wonderful people than I have idiots. And there's a couple of them. They make themselves known, so you avoid them. This is an important election. Hold people accountable. Learn what they're doing. Encourage them and give them the attaboys when they do deserve it. Not like these school boards. Every school board I've gone to darn near, if not every other one, they're giving out some dragon awards. Some of these dragons need to be slayed, and that's why I've always said Landy and Gilbert, yeah, they're dragon slayers. They want to get the bad dragons out. They want the good dragons to push forward. for these graduating classes to come up, these alumni that are going to come up in the future, to really be proud of where they come from. They want, hopefully, maybe, I don't know, I'm pretty sure, tech schools. No one's talking really about tech schools that I've heard of in that town. I did see something, though, about the ag school, and I think that's a good thing, of course, naturally. I can't give up. I don't want to give up. I do not want to give up. I do believe this community can turn around. I do believe the school system can turn around. I think the city right now, and I will say I'm a little bit impartial. Becky Curtis, by the way, shout out to you, girl. And Bella, the heartthrob that I have of Bella. If you go down to the DMV, you'll see her down there. Bella, that is. Not always Becky. Sometimes she's out running around doing DMV stuff. But seriously, great mayor, great friend, great person across the board. Pretty rock solid. Good salt. John Feigert, I'm not crazy about you. You stole my trust. And Rich Wine, my little wackadoodle. I would have to pick the lesser of two evils on that one and say, John, sadly, you'll get in there. I'm just hoping you can change some of your spots or stripes. With that being said, folks, we have to see the better within people, or the best that's within people. And in this case, I think I've done a fairly good job at helping you understand. It's not that the people are wrong for the job. They're just not right enough. I guess it's what I've learned today. And really, I've had a lot of struggle with that word, discernment. Because with that comes, by the way, comes mercy, comes forgiveness. And I myself, I don't know, more like an elephant. I just don't forget. It's difficult. I like to use words, though. My emails, by the way. Folks, I do want to leave you with a good note. Here you go. If you really want to make a point, have fun. Have fun with all the words you can. Whatever words can be perceived as, say, vulgar, whatever that may be. But the bottom line is get your point across and then just start maybe perfecting things. Yeah, you shouldn't criticize them. But how else are you going to get their attention? Something's wrong. You've got to sometimes fight fire with fire and criticize. But that's not what we're supposed to do. Again, we're supposed to see the good in everyone, if that's possible. So, to me, for everyone in Cameron, I would hope that you'd consider Dan Landy and Heath Gilbert. I really do. I think that would be very best for all of you. So, with everything else being said, I don't even know who's on here. Oh, let's see. Julie, the incident in Maryland was a terrorist attack. Oh, wow. Oh, it was a terrorist attack. All these people stick together. The education of the nation is garbage. Yes. Here you go. The education of this nation is garbage. Julie, I did not know you were on there. I'm so sorry. It's been a while. We've had network problems and everything. Seriously, folks, not making excuses. I can't make this stuff up. But I had to show my license twice to Facebook, and I'm not crazy about it. The incident in Maryland was a terrorist attack. Heard that too. But, so far they're saying not. I just say right now, I'm leaving nothing out of speculation. Until you gather all that material, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. But I'm sure this is a little bit more nefarious than we think it was 3 minutes before you hit the bridge. Come on, you know you're going over a mile an hour. Come on, 2 miles an hour. Why? You've already shut down. But technically speaking, you're drifting. Your weight, the momentum. I don't know about you. I'm not a physicist, but I think if you can study physics and stuff, I think you can figure that out. Very sad situation. Very sad situation. Oh, and it's an all steel bridge. Wow, I didn't know it was an all steel. I thought they would have had asphalt on that. No, obviously not. Wow. Now, did that connect to and from tunnels, Julie? I was going to look that up beforehand, but seriously, folks, Julie, by the way, thank you for being here. We've had some problems with the network. Not making excuses. We're going to get this straightened out. Meta, Facebook are both, squabbling amongst themselves. It's all power play. That's all this is. One big power play. And folks, from birth, you are given the right to vote. That's your power card. Use it. Meantime, have a great night. Thank you very much for visiting. Didn't have many people, actually watching, but I'm good with it. And why do I say that? It's not how many people are partying. It's how many people came to party. Try that sometime, folks. Just try that. In the meantime, again, love you, man, voraciously from my heart. Peace.
generation of my time. There is nothing we can do.